All right, all right, all right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm super excited. I know I've been counting down to tonight's session because listen, I need help. Okay, Anissa. So you're gonna help me tonight.
I got you, girl. I got you.
Listen, finances is something that I like to talk about. I like to keep people encouraged about because it can be one of those tough conversations that nobody wants to have. But I
Yep.
do know that it's so important because you don't want to be stuck at the end of the month. Like, where did my money go?
Yep.
So, before we even get any further into this, I want to introduce myself. I'm April Kelly. I'm the founder of Modern Mom Fix, where we support moms who are juggling family, business, and everyday life, right? So, probably almost every woman that follows me is a modern mom. Every woman that's in my circle, right? Because we're all constantly taking off one hat, putting on another, sometimes wearing two and three hats at the same time. So because I'm crazy and I live that crazy kind of lifestyle, I was like, there has to be someone out there that's the same crazy as I am that matches my crazy. And to my to my surprise, there are. And so I created the group to really just bring together people to create a safe space for us to literally share our wins, share our lessons, right? And help each other out because it truly does take a village, right? So we're trying to create our own village and to make sure that we have the answers that we need to create a lifestyle for our families to thrive. I'm so excited because tonight I have the privilege of having Miss Anissa Wright with me on Modern Mom Fix. And if you guys saw a couple of weeks ago, was it a couple of weeks ago or about a week ago?
About, I think 2 weeks ago, right?
2 weeks ago, she allowed me to grace her platform and talk about meal prep and a few other things. So tonight she is jumping on with me, and I'm just super excited because, again, like I said in the beginning, finances is something that I have in the past struggled with, and even today I find myself kind of tapping into bad habits. So I'm gonna be taking my notes as Miss Anissa is talking, and we're just going to have a conversation. So if you are watching the live, definitely be sure to post your questions in the chat so that we can have a chance to ask those during the live session. And then afterwards, if you still have questions, I want you to be able to reach out to Anissa directly. So she'll be able to, or at some point during the live, I'm sure she'll tell us how we can get in contact with her even after this, because that's really where the fun begins, right? All right, so I'm going to read her bio and then I'm going to pass it on to her so that she can tell you about all of the things that we need to know to get our coins together this
Yes.
in this season. All right, so Anissa is an insurance and investment license representative who advocates for middle income families and small businesses seeking to better their financial position, which is I. I fall in both of those categories. Her primary mission is to teach financial independence by helping others earn more income, invest for their future, become properly, not poorly, but properly protected, and become debt free. So she also assists with entrepreneurs with starting their own financial services businesses from the ground up. So listen, she finna, like I said, help us get our whole life together.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for the.
Finances. So you
Yeah.
go ahead and this, you take the floor.
Well, thank you so much, April. And hello, Modern Moms. Thank y'all so much for allowing me to grace your group here tonight. I'm so super excited. April, as you mentioned last time we talked, when you came onto my platform, you just dropped so many gems. I hope that everyone is able to gather just as many as I share some information with you tonight. But as she mentioned, I'm your favorite family finance advocate, Anissa Wright, and financial literacy, generational wealth. That's my thing. And that's why we're here. So I want to talk about that thing. Now, the overall concept that we're going to be talking about tonight is budgeting, right? The B word that a lot of people think is a bad B word doesn't have to be. But it's not what I think most of us think it is, right? When we talk about generational wealth building, we talk about leaving legacies for our families, right? But we don't think about where to start, right? Generational wealth building, I call it the 4 Ps, right? We deal with the 4 Ps when we're talking about generational wealth building. We're talking about paying ourselves first, saving, right? And then phasing out debt. That's the second P, phasing out debt. And then that third P is proper protection, making sure that we have enough insurance, God forbid, if something were to happen. Our legacy has an immediate estate, right? God forbid something happened to us. And then, of course, portfolio creation, investing, right, for wealth building and for retirement. So those are the 4 P's I like to discuss when we're talking about generational wealth building. But it has to start somewhere, right? We have to have a game plan. We just don't wake up one day and we have this, plan in place to build generational wealth. We have to start at the ground level, and it starts with budgeting. Listen, we have to have a vision, a roadmap.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, April, but everywhere I go, even in my own city, the first thing I do is I pull out my Google Maps, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I still don't know how to get everywhere.
Exactly.
My dad, he still uses paper maps.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know
I mean,
if I know how to read a paper map.
he folds it all across the dashboard. I'm like, really? But either way, there's a plan. There's a map, a roadmap that helps us to get to where we're going. And financial wealth, building financial wealth is no different. You have to have a plan, and that plan starts with a budget, right? A budget really allows us to visualize and see that the things that we need to do in order to reach our financial goals. But even with budgeting, April, we can't just jump right in with budgeting. And let me tell you why. It has to start with a mindset. Have you ever thought to yourself, you know what, I really want to get healthy. I need to lose a few pounds. COVID and put a few pounds on me, right? And then we rush to the gym, or we rush, to start those HIIT exercises. Yeah. And then a week later, we're like, this is for the birds. I don't have time. I'm tired. The kids acting crazy. Yeah. It's because really in our minds, we really haven't made a firm decision to make a change. Yeah. You know what I mean, April? Does that make sense to you?
I absolutely agree. I can attest to that myself.
Yeah. I mean, we all can, right? Yeah. We really have to have a mind shift. Anything in life, we're not going to stay committed to that thing if our mind hasn't changed about that thing, right? So we really have to have a mind shift. That's the first thing when it comes to managing our money and creating a budget. We have to say, you know what, this is the time, this is it. I know it needs to be done. I've, ignored it for this long. I just need to do it, and I need to stay committed with it because I have goals, right? And that's the first thing. Let's get our mind right and determine this is it. We're going to do it. And once you get there, once you have made that commitment, then I would suggest you go ahead and move forward with creating that budget. But the second thing is that if you're married or you have a partner, you got to get them on the same page. April, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with clients and one is like so gung-ho, yes, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And then the other one's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I think we're good. It's not going to work, right? Yep. If one is a spender, one's a saver, there needs to be some type of compromise where the two can come together and say, okay, let's create a plan. Let's compromise on a plan that's going to work for us both and that's going to meet our financial goals, right?
Right. And I want to ask you a question right there because I am married and I think my husband and we are very different in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. So we complement each other, but then we also conflict, like
any couple.
And we see things differently. And so I guess what would be, as you've seen clients that are married, I'm sure some that are single, some that have an entire family. So what would be some of your tips for getting on the right page, right? So after you've gotten your mindset and you at least both agree that, okay, we need some type of financial plan, some type of budget to make sure our family is operating like it needs to, right? And like we, to its fullest potential financially. So now that they've made that decision, like what are some of the conversations that they need to have to make sure that they're on the same page?
Yeah, April, that's a great question. What I usually have my clients do is I have them each individually write down, what are your goals? What's important to you financially, separately, right?
Right.
And then you come together and determine what's on that list. That's on both of you guys' lists. That's super important to you. That is a goal for you financially, whether it's to buy a home, whether it's to save for education expenses, whether it's to have a certain amount of money for retirement. Somewhere down that list, there's something that matches. There's a commonality between the two, right? Okay. And so based upon, I find the common pieces, and that's where we start. That's the skeleton the compromise, right? Finding that those common
right.
places where you guys do agree, and then you build on that. Again, it's so super important, because if you can't find that common ground, one is going to constantly trying to push for one thing, and the others going to be pulling in a different direction, and it's just not going to work. Listen, there are two things that usually break up a marriage, and I know you know what they are.
Yep. And one of them is money.
There it is. There it is. That's all we're going to say. We're going to leave it right there, right? But it's true. And so even if you have a budget, if you guys are constantly battling,
right,
you know, what's the point? So finding those common spaces is definitely important, right? And so once you have the mindset, once you've now come to a common ground, you guys are both on the same page. Now you just need to get started. And this is the part, I think, April, that people feel overwhelmed by. How do I get started? What do I do? Listen, jotting down is super simple. You can do it in an Excel spreadsheet. You can do it on a piece of paper with a pen. You list all of your debts. And when I say all of it, you put everything out on the table, right? Every credit card, the utility bill, gas, lights, phone, cable, internet, every single bill that you have, every single expense, list it out and how much it is each month. And then the debts, you want to make sure you know if you have credit card debts, how much is on each card? What is the interest rate on each card? That's super important, right? That's just a phone call, or you can look at your statement. It'll say it on your statement. Make sure you know what your interest rate is, right? And so lay everything out on the table. Now that's on the debt side, the expense side, right? List it all out. And then list all the income, right? That's coming in. You, your spouse, if you have one, any, side hustles you have, right? We all should have a side hustle. Everybody should, right? Okay. I'm telling you. So list all that income, because you can't create a budget or a plan if you don't know what you're working with. We can say we want to have this much in savings or invest that much, or, eliminate debt. But if you don't know what you're working with, you can't create that plan. So once you list all of that, right, now you have the skeleton of your budgeting plan. You know exactly what's coming out each month. You know exactly what's coming in, and you know what you can work with. The other thing is making sure that you just stay consistent. Listen, debt elimination, building a sound savings account, an emergency savings investment, that's not going to happen overnight. I think, again, just like with working out and trying to lose weight, if we don't see, progress in the first 2 weeks, we done, April. I don't know about you.
No. I've started and stopped a lot of things.
Right? Like we all do. But we just need to stay consistent. And that's with anything that's worthwhile, right? Just stay consistent, stick with it. You will see the gains no matter how small. I have actually, anyone can come to my Facebook page and find a simple budgeting tool. Literally, you just enter in your information, it automatically populates, and then you can see all of the expenses that you have for each month. You can see all of your income, and it's so simple. Just get started, whether it's online with an Excel spreadsheet or some type of app, or you're doing it with pen and paper. It doesn't matter. Just get started.
Did you say that was on your page?
Yeah, on my Facebook page. If you visit A Wright Financial on Facebook, at A Wright Financial, you can actually see a link for that. I actually posted it for the new year, and I'll repost it too, so that you can, if anybody wants to stop by and see, get that link, they can have that. But it is super simple to use. Just get started in using that. And what that's going to allow you to do, again, is to give you a visual of everything that you're working with. And now we can start working on those 4 Ps, right? Paying ourselves first, building up that emergency savings fund. That is so important. You need to know how much you got coming in, so you can determine how much you need to set aside, right?
Right.
And you're doing that at the same time that you're paying off debt, right? So we know what our debt is. So now we're paying off debt and we're building an emergency savings fund. I want to talk real quick about the debt piece of it. when you list out your debts, you list them out the smallest debt to the largest debt. And what you want to do is, this is super important, because a lot of people, what they do is they try to pay a whole bunch either on all of them, or they, they pay the minimum on all of them, right? It's very few in betweens.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So what you want to do is pay off the smallest debt first, right? And then once you pay off that smallest debt, take that money that you were paying off that smallest debt with, and then apply it to the next largest bill that you have until that's paid off.
Okay.
Then take the money that you were paying on that first small debt and that second debt and apply both those payments to the next debt, right? Still paying the minimum on all the rest of them. Continue paying the minimum on all the rest of them while you are debt stacking the other smaller debts towards the larger debts. Does that make sense?
That does. And that's the first time that I've heard it broken down that way. And I love the term debt stacking, because that's kind of like, it simplifies it in a way, because I think when it comes to debt, like you said, a lot of the times we do just pay that minimal payment. And sometimes it can just be overwhelming when you're looking at like, oh my God, all these different bills that I'm trying to pay down. And it just feels like you're not making a dent. You know what I mean? You're not getting anywhere. So the debt stacking, that tip that you just gave, I can see how that would, begin to, first of all, show you your gains, if you will, right? Show you how you're taking it, one chunk at a time, to where eventually that elephant that you saw, it'll be all eaten, because you're taking it, like you said, one step. I like that.
That. It does. It really does. It helps you see your wins, your small as they may be, but they are still gains. They're still wins, right? As you're moving to your goal. And that's just the best way to deal with that. And then again, as I said, you're paying off those debts. You're paying yourself first with that emergency fund, right? And then once the debt is paid off, at that point, you can start working on your portfolio, your investments. Even before that, I want to talk real quickly. And again, this is all about budgeting, because you can't do any of this without budgeting. If you don't know how much is coming in, you don't know how much is going out, right? Once you have that, now you can determine, okay, I can go ahead and buy insurance. Because listen, the foundation of any strong financial house is insurance. Most people think it's investments. Most people think it's income. Nope, it's insurance. And let me tell you why. How do you fund your retirement accounts, April?
How do I fund them? It comes from my income.
It comes from your income. April, what happens if you're no longer here to make or earn income? Because you passed away, God forbid.
Not funding that account anymore.
You're not funding that emergency fund, that college fund, that investment account. So what do? If you have insurance, your family is protected. Now, all of the income that you would have earned had you been here is now coming tax-free to your family, so that they have an immediate estate. So they can immediately fund college. They can immediately pay off the house. They can immediately, set up for retirement. It's all instant, right?
Right.
But most people don't think like that. They think, okay, well, I'm gonna start me an investment portfolio over here and do it with no insurance.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. You need insurance first, because the only way to fund the investment accounts is if you are here to earn income, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
I wanted to add too, I had saw recently a post, and let me just make sure I add this real quick. And it was a guy, I think he just recently started selling insurance, but he was basically saying, you having insurance in place is almost like a sure way of building your estate, right? And making sure you have something like that legacy to pass along to your kids, because like you said, it's money that you would have earned had you been here, but also money that you didn't have to work for. And yes, we don't want that to happen, right? We don't want to lose our loved ones, and we don't want to go through that. But even more so, we don't want to go through that and then be left with like a whole lot of other problems on top of our grieving that we have with a whole lot of other financial issues. So I think it's so important that, and I know a lot in our African-American community, I think it's starting to become more known and more talked about.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a lot more talking to do when it comes to this specific topic, because not a lot of people have that in place, and they don't understand the importance of it and just how they are able to use that as a vehicle to pass along their legacy.
Yes.
They don't
Yes.
connect the two. And a lot
Right.
of people, I heard Tamara say this, they're addicted to the struggle. So they're addicted to having to work for every single penny that they get, and, sell their time and literally work themselves down to the bone. But we got to start working smarter.
Right.
Smarter and not harder. And also teaching those same techniques that we learned, passing those down to our kids, like teaching it to them early. Because we're not always going to be here,
Right.
And,
right.
and every generation shouldn't have to start over. They shouldn't have to start where we started. We should be able to build and build and build and build to where we're creating an empire, right?
Let me tell you.
I love that you're talking about that.
Yes, and that is so good. And you know what is surprising, April, is that some people don't believe that. Some people don't believe they should leave something to their kids. Well, nothing was left to me, so why should I leave? Are you kidding me? Listen. Right. We need to give our children a leg up, a better start than what we have. You're right, being addicted to the struggle. We need to get over that, right? We need to move past that. And this is an excellent way to do that, is making sure that we have that proper protection in place. But if you don't have a budget, you don't know how much you can afford. So you just don't buy it. Or, you spend it on stuff that
That's right. We're talking about getting our coins together and living our whole life, and having a financial fitness, if you will, is so important. Like, that's a huge part of being able to live your best life, because honestly, in the world we live in, it takes money to do. It takes money to live. It takes money to enjoy. It takes money to invest, to grow, all of those things. So we can't put so much focus on our spiritual, on our mental, on our emotional, on all those other areas of our life, and then we're not giving our financial bucket. We're not pouring anything into that.
Right. Right.
I just want all those. I want to say real quick, I saw you, Rakivia, you shared. Thank you so much. We had a comment. Someone said, "Oh, I need to do that." And that was when you were talking about the debt stacking.
Yeah.
That's a hit right there, because I've never, ever heard it explained that way. But I'm gonna let you go, because I'm hyped off of this. This is good to me.
No, this is good. This is good to all of us, right? And part of that protection piece of it, in addition to the insurance piece of it, is estate planning, right? That's something else we don't do, right? Making sure that we have that will in place, that power of attorney, that directive to physician. All of that, is a part of generational wealth building, legacy building, making sure that your assets are passed the way that you desire them to be, and not have. My grandmother passed away almost 2 years ago, and one of the issues was the power of attorney. And if you don't have that in place, it can cause infighting. It could cause having to submit to court fees and legal issues and all that drama and money that you could save your family just by having a simple document that is very inexpensive. We need to have these things in place. It's not difficult, it's not expensive, but it's so necessary. So when I say proper protection, that's that third P. Make sure you have your insurance in place. Make sure you have your estate planning documents. And again, that's your will, your power of attorney, and your directed to physician in place. And then after you do that, you talk about the portfolio creation. But you can't do any of those things if you don't have a budget. So a lot of times, like you mentioned earlier, April, we're scared to look at the money. It's like it's overwhelming. We don't want to see it.
Right.
We don't want to deal with it. Out of sight, out of mind. But I'm just going to tell you like this. Get your pen, your paper, your tissues, a glass of wine, whatever you need to get through it. And just do it. Because once you do it and once you get started, you will see the fruits of that labor that you put in. You can see how it can affect your generational wealth building plan. So I hope that was generally the gist of it. It's not complicated, April. Really, it isn't.
It's not. And I think most of it is what you said at the very beginning. It's the mental. It's getting your mindset, because we are our own worst critic. And we honestly, a lot of time, are the only ones that are standing in our way of change, right?
Yes.
Changing our life. And so when you really grasp a hold of that first piece of like just changing your mental, unlearning some of the things that maybe you were taught, that you saw happen, or you know what I mean, when you were younger, that maybe weren't good financial habits, unlearning those things and being honest with yourself. And it's okay, because some of the things were out of our control. You know, we can't necessarily control how our parents taught us and what they taught us and how they handled their finances when we were younger, what we saw, what we were exposed to. But once you become adult, you take full responsibility, especially when you have started a family.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other little ones who are looking at you. You want to be the one to be the change in your family. If finances has been one of those things that maybe you guys you haven't really talked about, or you haven't really learned and really grasped a hold of. So getting that mental piece, I think, Anissa, is super important. So I'm glad you even put that first. And then when you were talking about estate planning, I think another part of that is getting your household involved in that conversation as far as estate planning. Because we've had our will in place now for probably since my oldest was 2 and she's 8 now. And
you got to update it.
Yeah, so we've updated that thing because we've had more kids and we got another one on the way. So we've updated every time, you know, there's a significant change in our family.
Right.
But we also got our kids involved in that conversation. It's more so my oldest one because she really understands it. My younger my little one is 4. So we talked to her about, you know, a few things on her level, but my oldest, I really wanted her to understand like what was outlined in that. I wanted her to understand that this is not a conversation that's taboo. It's totally okay to plan for that. Right. You know, and I think that's a good part too within our community. It's taboo to talk about death, and it's taboo to talk about, you know, how to plan for life for your family after you're no longer here. Nobody wants to talk about that. It's, you know, woo-wee.
But and which is super unfortunate because when something does happen, like we know, not if, when something does happen, you know, we act surprised. Oh my gosh. And then we're quick to throw up GoFundMe campaigns and all that. Now, listen, I'm not speaking against everybody that, you know, have GoFundMe campaigns because, you know, situations are different for everybody. I totally get that. But if we can be prepared, right? If we could, you know, be ready for those types of situations as much as we can expect to lose a loved one. It's going to happen. It's possible, right? So we need to stop making those conversations taboo. They can't be taboo. It's essential that they not be taboo because we know that things happen. Every time we turn on the news, you know, from babies to the elders, you know, we're losing people. So again, it's not our desire, but this is real life. And so we have to be prepared for that as much as we possibly can.
And I love that. I'm so happy you came on tonight because I really feel like this is a really good time to be having this conversation with the modern moms, because I mean, we're still at the beginning of the year. We're in a new year. 2020 was tough. Okay, babe. 2020 was tough for all of us, right? We all experienced the pandemic. No one was excluded from that experience, right? And it probably was probably it could have been for some families the worst financial experience that they've had, because a lot of people were put out of work. Small businesses were not, you know, able to function and to operate. So I think it's so good to kind of have this refreshing conversation. And yes, it still can be a tough conversation to have, but it's so necessary. And if you can follow these steps that Anissa is giving about the mental, about the 4 Ps, right? Yes, it's levels to it, but if you can at least start with the mental piece and then just having that conversation with yourself, with your partner, getting on the same page so that you can pay yourself. What was the other 4 Ps? Running back through me, Anissa.
Yeah, paying yourself and phasing out that debt, right? And then making sure you have that proper protection, the insurance and the estate planning, and then your portfolio creation, right? Investing for wealth, investing for retirement. Those are the 4 Ps I generally like to talk to my clients about, making sure they're addressing, and it all starts by creating that budget.
Yep, and I absolutely agree. And there was one thing I was going to say too with the investment piece. That's finally where we are within our household, just investing and getting into the trades and Bitcoin and just figuring out, you know, what's going to be our style, I guess you can say, of investing. Yeah. Some people do real estate and some people choose to do the day trading and things like that. But it just really shows us, like me and my husband, this is a personal story about our progress, you know what I mean? And how we literally, and even still today, we still do have tough conversations because my husband is completely self-employed. I left my job at the end of December. So we had to make some financial changes, right? And that's a good thing. Your budget should be, like, I think, a living document, like a living
Absolutely.
thing, because it can change life changes. Life is not always the same, and life will flip on you, right?
That's right, girl. Yes. Yes,
So
it will.
you got to be willing to make the necessary changes if need be. But it all starts with that budgeting piece, that mental piece, getting your mind right, and then getting a financial roadmap in place for your household, so you're at least moving in the right direction to be able to do all these other things that are going to continue to build on and add to your wealth. So I'm just excited.
Yes. Well, listen, we and I think, April, I just want to say this real quickly. A lot of people might have pushback about really addressing their financial situation because of embarrassment, because of whatever. But I want to give you some peace of mind tonight. We live in a social media rich, propagandist environment.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, 9 times out of 10, what you're looking at on Instagram, and I know you already know this, and on Facebook and everything else, these are just personal commercials. Everybody's not living their best life financially. I'm just going to say it, right? It's usually the people with the Lamborghinis and the bling bling are the ones that are really drowning in debt. But the point is that you're not alone. This is nothing new for the majority of America, right? As April mentioned, we've all, especially 2020, we've all gone through some devastating effects financially. Listen, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in if I hadn't been in a position where I was drowning financially, right? I mentioned on the post that I shared, April, when you initially posted this, is that I was, drowning in thousands of dollars of debt. I had to get myself out. I started there too. So this is nothing new. You're not different from anybody else. If that's your situation, it may not be your situation, but just know this is nothing to be embarrassed about. Your neighbor is probably going through the same thing. We think the Joneses got it going to get, but nothing against the Joneses. This is a fictitious family. But we think our neighbor has it going on, and we just don't know, right? So this is nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to be ashamed about, not addressed. But ask for help. Listen, that's why we are here. My services are free to you. If you ever need, debt elimination planning, or how do I even begin to invest, or how do I, what type of insurance do I need? All those different things. How do I put a budget into place? All those different things. There are resources to get you started. So don't not move forward because you're embarrassed. Don't let that be the reason why you don't get started, or that you're scared. Don't let fear, doubt, worry. Don't let those be the things, because you're going to stay there. And that's not cute. That's not, it's just not where you want to stay, right? You want to eventually grow. You want your family to grow and be financially strong and fit. So that's what I have for you, April. I really hope.
That was a lot. That was a lot, and it was great. And I like that you said that. Don't let that be the reason that you don't move. And we're talking to moms here, so we're talking to women who have children. We can't afford to sit still. We can't afford to stay in a place where we're not progressing, where we're not growing, where we're not flourishing, where we're not getting rid of that heavy weight that's holding us down. Because that weight, that heaviness, though, that debt, all of that, it's just going to roll right on down to our children. And that's not what we want to do as moms, right? We want to, again, create a lifestyle for our families to thrive. Who can thrive under mounds and mounds of debt? Who can thrive not knowing the fundamentals of finances? Nobody, not in this world, not on this planet, right? So I think it's so important that we do that, and we don't worry about what everybody else is going to say. We don't worry about, even the voices in our own head that are like, oh my God, this is embarrassing, and making us want to stay in our comfort zone, because honey, that comfort zone can be quicksand sometimes, and it'll keep you stuck. It'll keep you stuck.
April, speak.
I'm telling you, and it's to the point where I was in a position, I was so stuck, but I got so tired of it. Like, I'm like, I don't care who see me. I'm asking for help. I'm raising my hand. I'm speaking up. Those are the ones who get the answers, who get the free resources, like you're talking about, Anissa. And they eventually start to make progress. And then they are at the levels where, they can turn around and say, wow, look where I come from. And then turn
exactly
to the next one,
Exactly.
So it's so important. I just hope that this message and all these tips that and gems that Anissa is dropping, that y'all are catching them, because now is the time. Now is the time. If there's never been a time that's more better, I guess you can say more better, that's better than now, to cultivate a business, to cultivate a new mindset. Listen,
Yeah.
people are literally getting rich off of just, you know, their ideas, the moves
Yep.
they're making. It's the time.
Yep.
It's the time for it all. But you can't do any of those things if you don't change your mindset, if you don't allow yourself to, you know, forget about the naysayers, forget about what you see on Instagram, and literally focus on what's right in front of you and taking that next step. And then the next,
Yes.
and then the next step, right?
Yes.
We're not trying to get all the way to 100 from zero, from negative.
Right. Right.
Right? We're in the negative. We're literally just trying to make progress, right? Progress every single day, moving that needle forward. And then before you know it, you'll be over there with a whole portfolio.
That's right. That's right. And you said something so super important, April. You said to remove ourselves from the company of naysayers and negative people. Listen, if you have not done that already, and I don't advocate for, you know, treating anyone negatively or being,
Right.
you know, but let me just be honest. There are people in our lives that do not bring anything worthy to our lives, right? That detract versus add. And we really need to take stock. Again, not to mistreat anyone or to be mean or whatever, but this is you and your family you're talking about. You need to make sure that you are surrounded by supportive people, people that are willing to help you and not looking to just gossip about you or, you know, detract from your progress or discourage you. Because if that's your group, you won't ever achieve the goal. So you have to make sure you take stock of who's around you and keep people that are in your corner, truly in your corner, near you, because that's super important.
I agree. And this example is kind of trailing off a little bit, but just go with me on this journey. But I was one of those women who felt like, you know, I couldn't ask for help. You know, I figured out on my own. I got it. I don't need any, you know what I'm saying? People ask, you okay? I'm fine. Not really telling like, oh, I need help. Like I need some answers. I need some support. And it's only been within the last, I would say, year, maybe 2 years, that I really started to shift into like accepting the help, accepting, you know, the resources and the support. And it has changed my life, because when you are trying to carry the weight of the world on your own,
girl,
it drains the life out of you. It drains the life out of you. So you do want to take yourself outside, out of toxic situations and surroundings and people who aren't serving the best version of you. Because right now, not be the best version of you, and they're serving that just fine.
Right.
If they're not serving the future you, the you that you want to become, that you're striving for, you need to relocate and be okay. That means isolation for a period of time. Be okay with that, because sometimes we do need to sit in isolation and let that stuff run on off. And unlearn that and kind of purge, right? And get that stuff out of our systems, out of our mind, so that we can take in the newness and the freshness and, you know, this whole new idea of a lifestyle. Not even an idea, but this whole new lifestyle. So I think it's so important, and I think we've hit on some really good points. I had a comment. Somebody said yes with exclamation points. I think she was talking about when you're talking about the estate planning and everything. And then she said exactly, for real. So what we're talking about right now. But it's so important, and I'm so passionate about women being honest with themselves and allowing themselves grace to grow and to be 100% okay with the lessons that you've had to learn, right? But knowing that you can change that, like you have the power to change that. You don't have to wait for somebody to come save you, you know. That's right. This world is moving so quick and so fast. People just zooming by.
Yes.
It's not to be where your neighbors come check on you, welcome you to the neighborhood, and bake a cake for you, watch it. It's not like that anymore.
No, it's not.
You are on an island if you don't find your people. So I'm so thankful that I found my people in Modern Mom Fix. I'm so thankful that I found my people in Anissa and the Ram fam. But find your people so that you can take in all of that support and just embrace it. Embrace it, because it's a whole new life when you learn that you don't have to do this life alone. Because we weren't created to do life alone.
Nope.
That's a lonely place to be. And humans were
Indeed.
not created to do life alone. I can tell you that isolation is key. Yeah. Sometimes you do got to get isolated to get your mind right, to accept the newness and this new way of life that you're walking into. But honey, then you go find your people so that they can keep you on the right track.
That's right. That's right, girl. You're absolutely right.
Well, thank you so much, Anissa. Could you tell the people one more time where they can find you?
Absolutely. You can find me at A Wright Financial on Facebook, at Wright Life Goals on Instagram. And those are the best two places to reach me. If you have a question, you put it in the comments. If you can put a question on my Facebook page. And listen, anything you need, that's why I'm here. We are a family. We are women supporting women. And I'll be here for you through your financial journey.
Absolutely. And she said she got some resources to help you get started.
Yes. Yes, I have resources.
Me excited because I get excited when I get free.
I love free. I love free. So
yes. So get started. Get started. So there at this point, if you listen to this live and you taking in, all these tips that she's been dropping, and then the fact that she also can help you get started on your journey, you're well on your way already. So I applaud you for even checking in with us tonight, joining us, getting all of this free, good information and positive vibes, because we want you to win. You can bet on your bottom dollar that I would never bring anyone on our platform that does not agree with my same values and want to see other moms win. Okay. So we want to see you win. We want to equip you with whatever we can that's going to help you to make progress. Right. And we're doing progress over perfection. Okay?
That's right.
We're getting rid of that whole, we got to be perfect all the time. We got to have it all together. We getting rid of that. Here, you can take off your cape, baby. You can take it off. You can relax. You can chill. You can breathe. Okay. Because we're here to help you so that you're ready when you got to go back out to the world and put that cape back on, but you'll be prepared. Okay. So thank you all so much for joining. And again, I do want to say, if you haven't already, go on over to Modern Mom Fix. It's a free community where we do things just like this. We talk, we learn together, we support one another, we rally each other on, and we just do life together. Okay. And we try to create that lifestyle for our families to thrive that I keep talking about. So go on over, join the Modern Mom Fix community, completely free. And then when you're finished, go to modernmomfix.com and check out my blog. That's where you get to know me. You get to know how I view life. And hopefully my experiences will help you through some of the situations that you're facing. So I thank you all for joining. I thank you, Anissa, for joining.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I enjoyed this fun.
All right. And until next time, I can promise you, Anissa will be back at some point, right, Anissa?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime.
My little shameless plug. But we'll definitely be bringing her back on as we continue our conversation about finances and how you can be your very best financial self. But until then, thank y'all so much for joining, and bye, good people.
Good night.